Hi everyone, my name is Nuria Villa and she is Gemma Baez. We form part of Swara Cooperative in Catalonia. It's an honor for us to be here sharing experiences and ideas in this Euromet virtual symposium edition. Today I will be moderating the workshop, Support Model as a Strategy for Socio-Educational Action with Teenagers and Young People Without Family References. I'm going to speak a little bit about Gemma. She's the one that is going to be doing the speaking. Gemma is a social educator and a pedagogist. She's been working in Suara since 2019 and nowadays is working in a foster care center in Terres de l'Ebre. It's located in South Catalonia. Gemma's background started years ago, volunteering like a mentor with vulnerable children and like social educator in learning communities with disabilities, as well as other projects around Catalonia. I'm gonna give you just a quick housekeeping notes to have in mind. The session is gonna be about 45 minutes and we will be sticking to time as closely we can. Then during the event, if you have any question for the speaker, please ask this in the session, questions and answers on the right hand side of your screen. Please be sure that you are in the session tab, not in the event tab. Otherwise, your question will be seen for the whole event. I will ask you questions of the speaker in the end of the session if we have the time. If you would like to ask your question on live in a screen, you can ask to share your audio and video, and I will be bringing you to the screen. Actually, if we have the time to. Then you can use also the thumbs up icon to upvote a question if it's something you are keen to ask. And if you would like to follow up on a question, please prefer the question with the words follow up. And all right, I'm glad to introduce our speaker for today, Gemma Baez from Swara Cooperative. Thank you. Go on, Gemma.
Thank you, Nuria, and thank you everyone for being here, and good evening. As my colleague said, we are gonna do a speaking about the support model as a strategy for socio-educational action with teenagers and young people without family references. First of all, we are gonna explain the parts of this presentation. First, we will talk a little bit about Swara Cooperative, the place that we work in. Then we will talk about the foster care center, the place that I work in, that it forms part of Swara Cooperative. After that, we will go on with the beginning of the pandemic in the foster care center. We will follow with the evolution of that pandemic in the foster care center, and then we will go to a positive case that we had and the strategy that we used. If you have any doubts, as my colleague said, do not hesitate to ask it. Okay, so if we start, we will talk about Swara Cooperative, which is an enterprise of social economy born from the merger of 3 cooperatives of social initiative. It has 35 years of experience in taking care of people sector. Our mission is to take care of people looking for answers to contribute to improve their quality life with a cooperative model based in a democratic management, close to people and socially responsible. If we talk about numbers, we will say that we have almost 240 managed services. There's almost 43,000 people attended, and also there's almost 5,000 workplaces. And from those, there's 1,250 society people, and the 90% of the working places are for women. If we talk about our values, we will say that we try to transform our social environment from four characteristics. We try to be innovative. So we promote innovation processes and we promote the improvement of professional action with permanent education and formative seasons. Yeah. Also, we try to be close to people, and the people is the center of our activity. We try to be accessible to people that work in Swara Cooperative, also to people that is attended by Swara Cooperative, to our clients and collaborators. Also, we try to be democratic. We are based in a system of democratic and participative management. We promote society participation. And also, we are socially responsible. We try to be an impulsive part of the progress of our nearest surroundings in the economical, social, and environmental areas. As a cooperative of social initiative, we have intrinsic social responsibility criteria. So we are a social economic cooperative enterprise. So we are based on the principle of democracy, solidarity, and people's commitment. So that generates quality workplaces in everyone that works in the enterprise, or a lot of people of it are working for each own enterprise. Also, we contribute to the pluralism and the stability of the economical markets. And we have non-profit social cooperative initiatives. So we provide assistance services and or job placement. We won't distribute the surplus, and the social positions are for free. Our challenge is to contribute to the continuous improvement and the economic boost of a social base in Catalonia. If we talk about how do we work, we will say that our attention model is centered in people. So from those, we will talk about four characteristics. First of all, we will say that we have the autonomy. So we protect and cover needs of the people attended by Suara, but moreover, our intervention has to empower the people to guarantee the correct use of their rights. Secondly, we will say that we use the personalized attention. So the people attended are the protagonists of their vital projects, and that's why we work from the individuality, the respect, and the dignity. We have also the effective participation, so we focus on people well-being and in all dimensions, from the values and belief respect. And finally, but not less important, we will say that we have the commitment and passion. So our team is a multidisciplinary team coming from the social education, the social work, the familiar, and the home work, among others, from the social section. What do we do? Okay, so if we talk about our services, we will say that we offer a wide range of services to give response to all life cycle, and we adapt our services to our client requirements and needs. We work in accordance with the rule ISO 9000-2008 as an evaluative instrument of the quality and improvement standards. So we have certificates in the following sections: home care, disabilities, elderly people residencies, children, teenagers and youth, early childhood, schooling, adult education, women, families, social inclusion and justice. If we talk about Suara Lab, we will say that it's our laboratory of social innovation. We bet on implanting technology in our services. So from the first moment the cooperative has risen, so from the first moment since the pandemic arrived, the cooperative risen to the challenge, bringing a variety of tools and programs helping the workers to face the pandemic and the difficulties of it. For example, we had the coronavirus site. That was a site where we could acquire all the information and the new stuff that was appearing about the coronavirus. Also, we had Swara at home platform, telework guide to work properly from home, online training to improve our technical skills, training platform remotely, sharing experiences with other services around the world to know how they were working with the teenagers or the young people during those difficult days. Also, the incorporation of digital tools, the digital skills program, or the one that is more important for me, the emotional care plan, where we had a bunch of psychologists and psychotherapists that were there if we needed to talk or if we needed anything from them. We could have access to them, and that was a lot of help. Also, we had the absenteeism management and the reorganization office space. Now we are going to start with the second part of this presentation. We are going to go to the foster care center of Terres de l'Ebre, the place that I work in, and that is a part of Suara. So the foster care center of Terres de l'Ebre is a center of ownership of Suara Serveis SCCL. It provides public services with a management contract in a concerted regime with the Generalitat de Catalonia. There are 26 concerted residential places for kids and or teenagers who are under the guardianship of the Generalitat de Catalunya, which delegates the function to the Direcció General d'Atenció a la Infància i l'Adolescència, the competent entity in the protection of child and teenager of the Catalonia territory. So from now on, when we talk about Direcció General d'Atenció a la Infància i l'Adolescència, we will say the GAIA. So if we talk about the center typology, we will say that we give an immediate response to the cases that require an emergency intervention, where we can perceive that exists a huge risk for the physical and psychological integrity of the child or the teenager. Our purpose is to analyze the problem, each problem, with a diagnostical interdisciplinary study that let us make the most appropriate purpose measure. Our center is a vertical center which receives children and teenagers from 4 to 18 years old, but depending on the problem or the difficulties of each, and also the emergency, we can receive also children from 0 to 3. And from both sexes, which makes difficult for us to work with that big range of age. So our foster care center has a basic function. Our basic function is to offer an immediate response and transitory reception and protection to any kid or teenager who is in a risky situation. We exercise the substitute function temporarily of the family, which includes exercising of the integral educative activity that the child or the teenager needs, satisfaction of needs of the child, the basic ones, alimentation, clothing, accommodation, and so on, taking care of the physical and psychological needs of the teenager or the child, also conducting, as we said, a diagnostical interdisciplinary study of the situation of the needs of the child or the teenager in the foster care center. And finally, we have to formulate an proposal, the best one for each case, of the foster case measure. So we can have a bunch of different proposals. For example, returning to the biological family, foster care simply in an external family, or going to another center. So our intervention has to be focused on guaranteeing the significant and effective relationship with the correct intellectual development. Also, we have to stimulate the construction of their own identity with becoming aware of each own and the difference with the others, keeping their own and personal life. We don't want them to ignore their past. We want them to know their story and to create their story, but with their own background. Also, we want to create correct social relationships with the equals and with the adults in accordance with their age, experience, and grade of maturity. And also stimulating the participation in the decision-making for their personal development as a child or a teenager. Well, And right now we are going to start with the pandemic part. We are going to start at the beginning of the pandemic, where the social uncertainty that COVID-19 caused, that COVID-19 caused, was also reflected in the protocols and procedures that from until that moment were the ones that regulated the daily lifestyle of children and teenagers that were under the guardianship of the Generalitat de Catalunya and lived in our center. That was a completely new situation with a lot of uncertainties factors involved. For example, as an educational or formative level, it caused the suspension of the systems and to schools and high schools. In the first moment, it was just for 15 days, but it was longer than expected. From the first moment, we had the educational department that gave us a specific protocols and procedures to offer some indications to give response to the continuity of the educational needs of those children and teenagers. Imagine how it could be to have 26 children and teenagers with a big difference range of age from 6 to 18 was in that moment with different educational needs and everything. So on the 13th of March, the state of alarm was decreed, and on the 15th of March, we hired an early childhood technician to help us and to help them, to help us to find some ways to support the professionals and also to help them with any specific need that all the children and teenagers could have. Also, we adapted our ways of connecting with people, of meeting with them. So with the school directors or with the tutors, the psychopedagogical care teams, all the meetings starting to be online. But our mission was that we could accomplish all the educational objectives, and that's what we accomplished. Also, the next day after the alarm state was decreed, the temporary visiting regime was suspended. That regime is what regulates the visits that the children or the teenagers could have with their families. These visits could be, for example, going to their family's home during the weekends, or maybe going to their grandparents' home, or just going away of the center one day per week to have a snack with their parents. Those are really important moments for the children and the teenagers because that's what keeps the relationship with their families. So when the Gaia communicated us that, it was really difficult to tell the children that we were attending. So we did an extraordinary assembly to talk about the coronavirus, the state of alarm, and what it supposed. In that moment, it was a really big emotional ups and downs, and it was a little bit of frustration also for us, but the fact that in first moment it was just for 15 days made us keep the faith. When it was being longer than expected, the frustration was bigger, and also the emotional support that those kids or teenagers needed was also imperative and essential. If we talk also about the first moments, we will say that we weren't provided with specific protocols to prevent or to protect from COVID-19, neither the child or the teenagers nor the professionals. So we had issues with that, but the professional teamwork started to look for all the information that we could find, and we created our first internal protocol where we could work and share with the other resources that work with the youth around our territory. All of us, all the workers, started to wear the PPEs, and well, at the first moment, I think that we didn't use it properly, but the cooperative gave us some tools, and we received specific instructions, and that calmed us since we started to do it properly, or at least we were helped. If we say that the pandemic of COVID-19 has been a challenge to everyone working in the cooperative and also to everyone attending, because imagine what it could be being a children that has been retired to their parents and having everyone around you with wearing masks, special suits, and so on. If we go to the evolution of the pandemic, we will say that we have adapted our professional work to give response to the new realities. So during the pandemic, we have changed the work terms to guarantee the stable groups and in periods of time that could answer correctly to all the needs that were appearing in a center. We studied the coexistence group to minimize the contagious risk and that we have maintained during those months. It also supposed a really big change to the way of communicating, not only with the professionals that work in the team, that we started doing our weekly meetings online, but also with all the other professionals that have an important role in our job place. Also, we will say that, well, one of the things that has been more difficult is the new children and teenagers arrivals, because before the pandemic, we studied when a new kid or teenager arrived, the thing that we were using is a close, affective, and emotional work with them. So in his or her first hours in the center, we showed him around, we presented them his new mates, we introduced him to the teamwork and so on. But with the pandemic, the teenagers and the children arriving to our center had to be isolated for some days until we had the negative test of the coronavirus. So, working with that, imagine that you are a children that has been retired from your parents, that you are going to a strange place, and that you're right there, you can see just people wearing masks and all the protections, the PPEs, and you are being alone. So imagine how that could be. It's a lot of anxious, a lot of frustration, and so also it is frustrating for us, the social workers, that we are not working as we would like. And also it is something that makes the other children have a lot of empathy because they have been in the same situation as the new arrival. So yeah, that's one of the things that is more difficult. But I think that right now we have improved with that and it is kind of better. All of us have experienced the emotional consequences of the pandemic, also the social educators and the children and the teenagers. So we haven't been an exception. In the first moment, the whole emotional situation that caused by the uncertainty, the changes, and also the weight. And right now, we are kind of feeling that pandemic fatigue. So I think that even though the difficulties, we can feel and we could ensure that we have been resilient. On the one hand, the children and the teenagers have learned how to behave and how to relate with each other also, and how to live to this new reality that we have been experiencing right now. And on the other hand, we will say that the social educative team has made the flexibility, the imagination, and the innovation a powerful tool of our intervention. So that has created great results in the integral well-being of the people that has been attended for us. Well, and if we go to the positive case, that I think that it was one of the most difficult things that we experienced. So we will say that when healthcare confirmed us that one of the children was positive, we immediately executed the contingency plan that consisted in, first of all, we were provided an external property of the foster care. We moved there. Do you remember that we talked about the coexistence group? So we moved there, one of the groups, the group that could be in contact with the positive case. So the other group could relatively live live as normal as possible, isolated, of course, but in the center. We moved there, the positive case and the people that could be in contact with. Also, we tested as soon as possible all the children, teenagers, and professionals to detect the new positives. And hopefully, and thankfully, we didn't have any other positive. And well, just to highlight something, we will say that we couldn't arrange some of the things that we were asked to. We couldn't, for the characteristics of the property, we couldn't applicate the isolation protocol. We couldn't have one room per each kid, but unless that, we used and we did everything else that was on the protocol. And well, if we go to the institutional collaboration, we would like to highlight that because since the first moment, we've been provided of PPE, personal protective equipment. First of all, we were provided of that twice or three times per week. And right now we are being provided twice or three times per month. The methodology of the Gaia is using a questionnaire, a daily questionnaire, where we can feed the positive cases that we have, even though, well, it doesn't matter if it's from children or teenagers or people that work there. And also, we have to say that one of the most important things was our daily communication with the head of childhood, the primary care doctor, the head of public health of Terres de l'Ebre and Tarragona, and epidemiology. We were in a daily communication with them via email. We were telling them if we had any positive case, and also if we have any other people that was coming, any other children or teenagers that was arriving to the center, so they could test him or her as soon as possible, and they could do all the screenings and so. So from our center, our foster care center, we will say that it's a positive value, the closest and the fastest way as we have to communicate and work, because that's what guarantee that we have the situation under control. So during these moments, we've been claiming the social educator's role. We've been really invisible. But we have been working from the first line when the world has stopped. Right now, we can say that we are essential. Well, thank you so much for your attention. I hope that everything was clear, but if not, do not hesitate to ask us anything, to share with us any personal experiences, please, we would like that. And anything else. And if you don't have any questions, but you want anything else after that, you have our emails, so please contact us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gemma. This was absolutely fantastic. Thank you for sharing all your experience, all these informations about Swara Cooperativa, how you have faced coronavirus in the first moment, and how your foster center is been working and improving. I'm gonna invite the people to make questions about what Gemma have been exposing. If there is any person that wants to say something, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
I think that it's kind of difficult to do that in a language that is not our mature language, our mother language, but I tried to do it as best as I could. So sorry if it was any spelling mistakes or I don't know, or grammatical mistakes, but I tried. Thank you.
No worry, Gemma was really nice and really clear. Special 9 finally was working and was really, really cool. Thank you, Kai, that about the presentation. Thank you, Kai. Yeah, I
Thank
don't
you.
know. Would be
Uh,
nice. Sorry, Elena.
Yeah, it's a really difficult situation, Sarah, because imagine what it could be to be retired of your parents. So you are now living in a place that you don't know anyone there, and you just are being welcomed by people wearing masks, wearing glasses, wearing all the suit, and it's kind of difficult. So that's why it's so important for us to have all the communication with all the healthcare team so they can do the tests as fast as possible so the children or the teenager can join the dynamic of the group as soon as possible. So yeah, it's kind of difficult, it's kind of frustrating, and not just for the children, it's just for also the social workers that we don't know what to do with that because it's like we have a protocol to follow and we have to be to ensure us that we are not putting in risk the other children's. So yeah, that's really complicated. But we would like you to share your experiences if you have any. We would like to hear you also.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, I
That could be
hope to the
nice.
same. It would be really cool that Swara Cooperative can be a member of Euromet. Thank you. Yeah, anyone can maybe how you faced. Maybe we can send some questions to you. Someone want to say something about.
So I want just to ask you just one thing. Imagine what it could be to go to work and to walk just lonely down the street, going to work and not seeing anyone else. It's also complicated for us, the social workers, but we try to live the pandemic experience, also the alarm state as well as we could. We could say that, but we had all our doubts, our frustration, our feelings, and we couldn't share that when we arrived to work because we had all the children, all the teenagers there. And if we showed them that we were feeling frustrated or we weren't as emotionally, mm, I don't know, that if we weren't as emotional as usual, they weren't feeling as good as they should. So they were feeling bad, they were feeling more frustration. So, yeah, I think that that's also one thing that we should have highlighted that we didn't, but because we thought that we wouldn't have enough time to highlight everything.
Yeah, have you noticed the impact of children's mental health, or have there been any positives from the pandemic?
Well, first we will say that yeah, we have noticed the impact on children's mental health because they were more nervous at that moment. It was easier for them to I don't know to explode with to burn out with everything. But well, I think that we regulated that as properly as we could, and we didn't have anything really well big to explain. But yeah, I think that that was one of the things: the nervousism, the frustration. Maybe they were feeling uh, lower emotionally. Yeah, I don't know if I can explain myself. And if we talk about the positives from the pandemic, we will say that from the social work, well, social educators role, I will say that I have learned how to be innovative, how to be flexible, how to be, I don't know, imaginative, because maybe one day we didn't have what we needed to do whatever we were thinking. So we were just creating activities, or depending on how the kids or the teenagers were in that moment, we had to change what we had planned. And I think that we learned a lot from the pandemic, also from positive and from negative. And also we learned how to regulate our our energy and our feelings when we arrive to work better than maybe in other situations. Because as I said, it was difficult for us too. Of course, we are people, we are a person. I'm not just a social worker. So when I arrived at work, I had to do, I don't know, a click in my head and say, okay, right now they cannot perceive what I'm feeling. So I have to be as happy as I can, and I have to be as eager as I can for them to feel the less negative. I don't know how to say it, but the less negative feelings that I could give them. I don't know. It's a really complicated situation. Yeah.
Thank you, Gemma. Really nice you can share with us how you lived all the pandemia days, especially the lockdown and the difficult moments. Yeah, special some, I guess, no, and I some foster care centers that are located in a small apartments. They really struggle, and for sure, I think that impact on children it's been reflected in those cases, no, in those places that are smaller. Um, I think your center now is bigger, no, where you are working, and
Yeah.
it's helped a lot
What?
also for the mental health to the
Mhm.
kids.
Yeah, what you said, Noria, is completely true. We have a really big part that rounds the center, and where they could play outside the walls of their new home. And that helped them a lot with mental health, and that helped us a lot with the activities and so, and to divide the groups also, because we could specify some areas for each group, and yeah, that also helped a lot.
Any question else? Someone wants to add something to the conversation?
Sarah, I don't know if I explained myself, or if you have any other doubts of your question, or any, I don't know, if you have any other doubts or so, please do not hesitate.
It was great, Sarah. I said Gemma. Sarah is responding this. I'm sorry.
I think that also for the children, it was kind of, well, if we try to find the positive part, because everything has the positive part, I think that also we can say that they learn how to behave, and how to, I don't know, but how to behave in a completely different way. because at least in Catalonia, we are really used to be really close people, to hug a lot, to kiss to the cheek when we say hi. So they have learned and they've been really resilient with everything that has been happening. So yeah, I think that they have learned also about that.
Yeah, to have more imagination and right to, I think the good thing of kids and teenagers, they adapt really fast, faster than adults sometimes, no? And I think this point is kind of is positive. Of course, they struggled for what we all lived and to be aware of the families or all what you mentioned, but also they are really resilient, no, and the capacity of you know go on, no, so to adapt. Nice. Okay. Um, Anything else? If someone wants to say something to add, otherwise, are children worried about political situation in Catalonia? Good question.
A really interesting question. Thank you, Kai. Well, I will say that they have bigger problems than that. And I don't think that they care that much. Well, at least not children, maybe teenagers that they are a little bit conscious, but I don't think that that's one of the main topics that we have on the foster care center because yeah, as I said, there's a bunch of difficulties that we live there. So yeah, that's not something that we talk that much. They are aware of the political situation, but I don't think that that's one of the main things that they have to think about.
Nice. Another question, maybe in the room. Not for now. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Yeah, in the end, like COVID is bringing a lot, no? Like negative points and positive points, like Gemma was commenting, and also the institutions and everyone, it's been improving and it's been, like facing as best as everyone could, no? I don't know, yeah, in this way also Suara has been accompanying the situation and the workers, and it's been really nice too.
Yeah, also from what Kai was commenting, I would like to say that those children were living really difficulties in their lives. So it has been more difficult now that they have been. So the ones that were in the foster care center came with more difficult situations at home since they were living under some difficult or more difficult uh, I don't know how to say it in English, sorry. They were living, well, more days during the lockdown, so they didn't have a place to go or a secure place to go, so they were just stuck at home. So after the lockdown, I think that it was more difficult the realities that arrived to the center. I don't know if I explained myself. If not, I can try again, maybe with another words.
Yeah, I think that we all understand you, Gemma. Your explanation is great. Any question else? Any things to add? Maybe how you maybe the experiences you had, like in your institutions, in like workers. Maybe someone wants to join us here in the screen. Don't be shy. Or maybe someone want to do another question here in the chat. Also, it's great. Also, thanking for the questions that you are making. It's adding a lot to all what we are explaining and what Gemma is explaining. So just a reflection. Yeah, about how common these experiences have been for all of us across Europe, right? Yeah. Yeah, in fact, it's a global thing, and it's really nice to be here and sharing all these experiences with you, because it's a special year for sure. The COVID-19 have been bringing a lot of improvement and a lot of, it's a good moment for make a reflection too, after all these months, and how people it's been facing, like workers, like humans, like in the institutions.
Right now we feel more connected as ever. I think that all of us have felt emotional ups and downs during those months, during these months, not those months, these months, because the pandemic is still on. And yeah, that connects us. And also, well, I don't know your work background, but I think that if you work with young people, everything that I said or that Nuria said could be reflected in any of your job places. Yeah. I don't know what happened, but Nuria left. I think that it was a technical issue, but yeah. Thank you, Sarah, for your reflection. If you have any doubts, please just ask them. And if you have any other reflection, it's really well, it's reaching the presentation. So please just go on. We really like that. Nuria was having some technical issues.
Problems to
I don't know what happened. Yeah. Well, if there's not any other comment or question or so, we are just gonna finish. We are just gonna finish this presentation. And well, thank you so much. I don't know what's happening, but someone is muting me. Sorry. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. And of course, we would like to have a cooperation with your organization, with Euromet, of course. Thank you so much, Kai. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. And yeah, I would like this presentation to be something, well, as nice as it's been for me to be here, that it's been good for you. And yeah, thank you so much again. And yeah, Nuria has some problems and she can enter again, but yeah, thank you, Nuria, for helping us with this presentation also and moderating this session. Thank you, Geraldine. Thank you, Sarah. And thank you, everyone that has been asking questions and commenting and reflections.